Okay, let's just jump right into this. You are doing everything right. You know the drill. You're hitting the gym 5 days a week, chugging your 2 liters of water, meal prepping like a boss, tracking every single macro, and practically sprinting on the treadmill with the incline cranked all the way up. You are putting in the work. But then you step on the scale and nothing. It's completely frozen. Or, even worse, the number is somehow creeping up. It's incredibly frustrating, right? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something we call the dieting paradox to metabolic mastery. We're going to dig into the actual science to expose the invisible villains that are secretly sabotaging your hard work. And more importantly, we're going to talk about how to fix it so you can finally get the results you actually deserve. Drop a like right now if that first scenario sounded a little too familiar, because honestly, you are absolutely not alone. I want to hit you with a massive statistic right out of the gate. 95%. 95% of people who start a traditional fat loss journey end up regaining all the weight they lost, and sometimes even more, in less than a single year. Think about that for a second. If literally any other industry had a 95% failure rate, we would be demanding our money back immediately. But in fitness, we just blame ourselves. We assume we just didn't have enough willpower. But as the science clearly shows, it is not your willpower that's broken. It's the approach. So why isn't the scale moving? Let's look at a super relatable situation. Picture this. You make yourself this massive, beautiful, colorful salad. It's super healthy, it's packed with fiber, and it's really low in calories. You finish it, your stomach physically feels completely stuffed, but then like 30 minutes later, you are absolutely starving. How on earth does that happen? Well, it's because your brain and your hormones aren't actually satisfied. So what do? You end up snacking. A little bit of this, a handful of that, and by the end of the day, you've actually eaten way more calories than if you had just sat down and eaten a substantial, balanced meal in the first place. The scale isn't moving because, behind the scenes, your body is secretly fighting you. All right, moving to section 1, the weight loss paradox. Let's look at exactly why your body fights back. For decades, we have been force-fed this really tired calories in, calories out rule, acting like the human body is just a simple math equation. But human biology is infinitely more complex than a basic calculator. When you put your body through extreme caloric restriction, especially if you're aggressively cutting out carbs, your body doesn't just happily say, oh cool, let's burn off some body fat. No, it perceives a state of famine. It actively fights back. It alters your hormone signals, rams up your hunger, and literally slows down your daily energy burn. And this brings us to a huge trap, confusing eating healthy with being in a caloric deficit. Look, we naturally assume that eating nutrient-dense foods guarantees weight loss. But foods like olive oil, avocados, and almonds, they are incredibly dense in calories. Yes, they are absolutely amazing for your health, but if you aren't controlling the portions, you are not in a deficit. You could be eating the healthiest diet on the planet, but hidden calories from an extra pour of dressing or mindless snacking will completely stall your progress. It is about quantity just as much as it is about quality. Let's dive into section 2, stress, sleep, and cortisol. Think about the typical modern day. You wake up to a blaring alarm, you chug a coffee, you rush through terrible traffic, and then you deal with constant pressure at work. You are chronically stressed, and let's be real, probably pretty sleep deprived. This lifestyle is a literal recipe for a metabolic disaster, and it leads directly to what's known as the cortisol belly. Now, cortisol is your body's main stress hormone. In short bursts, it's actually great. It gives you the energy to escape danger. But when you are stressed 24/7, that cortisol just stays elevated all the time. And this chronic elevation actively alters lipogenesis, which is just a fancy way of saying it changes how your body stores fat. It actually forces your body to take excess energy and pack it directly into your midsection, right around your vital organs. It also completely spikes your cravings for sugary, high-calorie foods. So get this, you could be following your diet perfectly to the letter, but if your cortisol is through the roof, your body is chemically locking that belly fat right in place. Just take a look at this table. The metabolic difference between a well-rested body and a sleep-deprived one is honestly staggering. Science tells us that just one single night of terrible sleep can reduce your insulin sensitivity to levels that are comparable to eating a high-fat, junk food diet for months. Months. When you're running on no sleep, leptin, that's the hormone that signals you to feel full, takes a massive nosedive. Meanwhile, ghrelin, the hormone that screams at you to eat, spikes like crazy. On top of all that, the high cortisol from lack of sleep turns catabolic. That means your body actually starts eating away at your precious, calorie-burning muscle mass. It is wild, but you are literally losing muscle and gaining fat just by not prioritizing your sleep. Up next is section 3,
the invisible energy burner. You hear people say this all the time, but I go to the gym for an hour every single day. And hey, that is fantastic. But what exactly are you doing for the other 23 hours? If you crush a heavy workout, but then you just sit completely still at a desk for 8 hours and then move straight to the sofa for the rest of the night, your overall daily energy burn is still going to be surprisingly low. I want to reveal this massive number to you, 30%. Up to a full third of your total daily energy expenditure can come from something called NEAT. That stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This right here is the invisible calorie burner. It is all the energy you spend doing literally anything that isn't sleeping, eating, or doing a formal workout.
What makes NEAT so incredibly powerful is just how simple it is. We are talking about basic stuff. Cleaning the house, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, pacing around the room while you're on a phone call, doing a bit of yard work, or honestly, even just fidgeting and bouncing your leg under your desk. These little micro movements might seem totally insignificant on their own, but when you add them all up over the course of 16 waking hours, they can account for hundreds and hundreds of extra calories burned every single day. NEAT is absolutely your secret weapon for metabolic health and weight maintenance. Do not underestimate the sheer power of just moving your body more throughout the day.
Which brings us to Section 4, Hidden Calories and Digestion.
Okay, be honest with me. If I looked in your grocery cart right now, I bet I'd see a bunch of products with bright, flashy labels screaming light, 0 sugar, or 0% fat. We buy this stuff thinking we're hacking the system, right? Getting the protein without the calories. But obsessively relying on highly processed diet foods pulls you right into the 0% fat trap. See, when food companies strip the natural fat out of a product, like yogurt or milk, they create a major issue. Certain vital nutrients, like vitamin D, are fat-soluble. That means your body literally requires fat to absorb them. By eating the 0% version, you are just flushing those essential vitamins right down the drain. On top of that, leaning heavily on artificial, packaged diet foods absolutely starves your gut microbiome of the complex whole food fibers it desperately needs to survive. And a damaged gut? That leads to awful digestion, totally messed up fullness signals, and a super sluggish metabolism. Listen, your body is not a spreadsheet. It's a complex biological system, and it requires real, whole foods to run efficiently. So the big question is, how do we actually fix this in real life? Let's run through a quick science-backed sequence of lifestyle tweaks. Step 1, and this might totally shock you, eat complex carbs at dinner. I know, diet culture loves to scream no carbs after 6 p.m., but the actual research shows that eating carbohydrates at night drops your cortisol, releases tryptophan, and helps you fall into a much deeper, more restorative sleep. And better sleep means perfectly regulated hunger hormones the next morning. Step 2, unplug from all your glowing screens at least 30 minutes before bed. You have to give your nervous system a chance to wind down. And Step 3, practice daily gratitude. It sounds woo-woo, but studies show that taking just 2 minutes to physically write down 3 things you are grateful for significantly lowers anxiety, which directly lowers your cortisol levels. It's that simple. Section 5, Muscle versus Fat Reality. This is where it all comes together. I'm about to tell you something that might completely flip your perspective upside down. Weight loss is not the same thing as fat loss. If you are constantly frustrated by the scale, there's a really good chance that the fundamental goal of your fitness journey has been slightly off from the very beginning. Whenever you do a severe crash diet or you suddenly cut out all your carbs, you usually see a massive drop on the scale in that first week. You celebrate, it feels great, but that early weight loss is a total illusion. What's actually happening is you're mostly just losing water and depleting your muscles of glycogen, which is just the stored form of carbohydrates. Because here's the science. Every single gram of glycogen holds on to 3 grams of water. So when you heavily restrict carbs, you just flush out massive amounts of water weight. But what you actually want is fat loss. You want to burn real adipose tissue while preserving your dense, metabolically active muscle mass. Look at this breakdown of what that rapid early weight loss on a restrictive diet actually looks like. You see that massive slice taking up most of the chart? That's just water. The medium slice? That's your muscles' stored glycogen. And that tiny, almost invisible sliver? Yeah, that is the actual body fat you burned. This is exactly why the scale is a liar. If you start strength training, eating enough high-quality protein, and actually recovering properly, you're going to build dense muscle. And muscle takes up significantly less physical space than fat does. This means the number on the scale might stay exactly the same. Or hey, it might even go up, but your clothes are going to fit so much looser, your waist will shrink, and you will look completely different in the mirror. You have to stop chasing a random number on a piece of plastic sitting on your bathroom floor. As we bring this explainer to a close, I want to leave you with this incredibly grounding quote from the Spanish Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They say, there are no foods that make you fat or thin, only adequate amounts and frequencies. Seriously, let that sink in. We need to stop demonizing individual foods. We have to stop the extreme, punishing restrictions. Making sustainable, stress-free lifestyle tweaks, like prioritizing your sleep, getting those daily steps in, eating enough real whole foods, and keeping your cortisol in check, will absolutely beat crash dieting every single time. So I want to leave you with one final provocative question. Are you just chasing an arbitrary number on a scale, or are you chasing actual, vibrant metabolic health? Take a moment to really reflect on what your true goals are. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this whole paradigm shift. Drop a comment down below right now and let me know, are you going to focus on fixing your stress, getting better sleep, or upping your NEAT moving forward? If this explainer opened your eyes or gave you an aha moment, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the science of health, and please share this with someone who is currently fighting a losing battle with their bathroom scale. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.